Would you rather have a 6'3" point guard or a 6'3" point guard? That's going to be the question of today's video because the two players we're going to be talking about are very similar and they also have a ton of potential. We don't see a lot of players that are already great and still have a ton of potential left, but this is one of them. I've been comparing a ton of top players recently and you guys are loving the videos and I can't thank you enough. So if you're new to this channel and you like stuff like this, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, join the family, and leave a like for more. And without further ado, let's dive straight into this video. Bronny James and DJ Wagner. They're in the same class, they're roughly the same height, and their playstyles are very similar. But however, with that being said, there's one thing that's not similar or even close at all, and that's their rankings. Wagner's ranked as the #1 player in the country, and Bronny's around that 30-ish mark. Rankings are not everything. I'm not gonna go as too far as just saying they mean nothing at all, because quite frankly, that would be stupid to say, but they're not as hyped up as they are made to be. I'm not gonna sit up here and give you examples of unranked players making it to the NBA because we've all seen those great stories. You guys get the point. They're not everything, but all I'm gonna say is they don't hand out 5-star rankings to just anyone. Normally when you're talking about the #1 overall player in the country and a guy who's barely ranked inside the top 40, there would be a big skill gap and a pretty big difference. But that's just not the case with these two guys, and we're gonna dive deep into detail and talk all about it and why these players may be closer than you think. And what you see and hear might just shock you. First things first, you know how this goes. We got to start on with the offensive side of the ball. DJ's the definition of a knockdown shooter. If he's open, it's going in. But here's the thing, the same thing can be said for Bronny. He doesn't get many open looks, but when he does, he cashes out. I do gotta say, I'm not gonna get into who's a better catch and shooter because of this one little thing. Both of these players do not get a lot of open looks and catch and shoot releases. They are both dynamic playmakers, and if they were in NBA 2K, they would be playmaking shot creators. They're not at their best when they spot up, but here's what makes them so good. If they're open, they're making it. Going into this video and before I started watching the film and videos and highlights, I thought I was going to give the mid-range pull-up and the creative shots to DJ with no doubt. The more I started watching Bronny though, the more I started to question that. He's proven in big time games that he can be a guy that can do that one dribble pull-up and hit turnaround fadeaways out of the post. I know I just said it, but I gotta say it again. It really shocked me at how well he's good coming off the dribble. Does it look as smooth as DJ? No, not at all, but it's still going in. That also leads me perfectly into my next point, and that is the smooth factor in basketball. I know what you're sitting there thinking, Matt, what is the smooth factor? But hold on, let me just explain it. Your top point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, if they're really good, they all have this one major thing in common. You may watch the highlights and be sitting there to yourself like, yo, why does it look so easy out there for them? It looks like they're walking in slow motion. Why can't I do that? Although the game looks slow paced from their perspective, and it literally looks like they're walking on the moon out there, it's not that easy. It looks that way because they have that smooth factor, and all top point guards and players out there can relate to that. Let me just put that in perspective for you. Have you ever been to a high school game and started watching one player and just thought to yourself like, wow, it looks like he's not even trying? It looks that way because it's effortless to him, and when it's effortless, it's also smooth. I think a really good example, and I know everyone knows who he is LaMelo Ball. The game of basketball comes so easy to LaMelo, and that's why he's one of the best. Now, with all that being said, let's get back on the topic with our two players. DJ Wagner has that smooth factor. What also separates him is that he has that killer mentality to go along with that. Every time I talk about this kid, I say the same thing, and I'm going to continue to say it. He has the best footwork in and out of traffic that I've ever seen. He does a fantastic job of maneuvering his body in and out of defenders to avoid the contact. Your high school coaches tell you to jump into your defender and try to get the and one, but DJ's so skilled, why not just go around them? He's good at Euro step, spin moves, and many more. That all ties in with being smooth, and I gotta say, on the flip side and for Bronny, I just don't quite see that just yet. Bronny's a little more built than DJ at the moment, and he looks for contact, and of course, for obvious reason, his dad is probably taught him that. I gotta give Bronny some credit. He has a pretty good floater, but he doesn't use it as much as I would like him to. He tries to make that highlight play, dunk on you, and get the whole gym involved. DJ can do that too, but a lot of times he just chooses to get the easy basket. I gotta say, for the driving and layup aspect of basketball, I think we gotta give this edge to DJ. So right now in the video, we're sitting at shootings pretty equal, and then the driving and layups are in DJ's favor, so it's roughly 1-0. Don't worry though, we got a long way to go and a lot more to talk about, so let's continue on. Wagner's known already around the world for being a great teammate. He makes the right passes, doesn't force a lot of shots, and overall he's very efficient. Here's the thing though, the same can be said for Bronny and even a little more. Bronny is probably more unselfish than unselfish can even be. He doesn't make the right play 9 out of 10 times, he makes the right play 10 out of 10 times. I've never seen anything like it. I like to put passing and IQ and making the right play all in the same category because I think it ties in together. As we all know, if you've ever watched Bronny, you can just tell he has one of the highest basketball IQs I've ever seen. And of course, we all know where he got that from and I don't even gotta say it. Wagner is efficient, and I mean so efficient. He can score 30 points on only 12 shots. But when you're talking about getting the bang for your buck and the most efficient out of every player in the country, Bronny's gotta be in the top 5. Always takes smart shots, never takes shots that are questionable, and always, like I said, makes the right play. I do gotta say, I think DJ has more of that killer mentality and he can go get you a bucket whenever you need him to. And for obvious reasons, that's why we gave the scoring edge to him. But when you're talking about passing, IQ, and the vision, I really don't think it's as close as you think. We gotta give that to Bronny. With only one more thing to talk about on the offensive side, we're sitting at 1-1 right now. Bronny's better at passing IQ and vision, and DJ's better at driving and attacking. We talked a little about the shooting, and I think it's even, but now we gotta talk about the scoring packages. And I already know you're sitting there like, yo Matt, give it to DJ, it's wraps, let's head on to the defensive side, but pump the brakes. I already know in the comment section everyone's gonna be like, yo, Bronny only averaged 6 points per game last year, but throw that out the way, we're not talking about points per game and averages. Bronny played on a stacked team, he was a freshman, so he couldn't really prove what he could do, but when he got in the game and got to prove a little things, I saw a lot of good stuff. Long story short, we're just gonna say the overall shooting battle, it's even. When you're talking about scoring though, there's much more to talk about than shooting, so let's dive into it. You know how I told you guys Bronny's passing IQ and his unselfishness is outstanding? Well, this is where it's going to come into play and hurt him. Although he's very capable of being a great offensive player, he doesn't look to score in most situations. He doesn't look to take over games, and I gotta say, as much as I like the kid, I just don't see that dog mentality and that killer or Mamba mentality, whatever you want to call it, I don't see it in him just yet. On the flip side, when I look at DJ's eyes when he's in the zone, he looks like another man out there. He is straight up scary. When DJ's locked in, he's another breed. He's not a guy that looks to make friends out there in the court. He wants to destroy you, and he's proven that he can take over any game when he wants to. For Bronny though, I do gotta give him a knock on this because he's not that scary in my opinion, and honestly, he looks more friendly out there in the court. There's nothing wrong with that, don't get it twisted, because that's just how his attitude is, but I don't think he has that dog in him. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Bronny's overall offensive scoring packages just aren't really equipped to what DJ has. Bronny has a little bit of a slower release, and this really hurts him against good competition. Wagner has a very quick release and he can pull at almost any moment, and this is what makes him so good. So all in all, and overall for the offense, I think it was much closer than you think after you hear that and listen to what I gotta say. We gotta give it to DJ though, sitting at 2-1. But hold on, it's not just over yet. We still gotta talk about defense. As always, I save defense for last because there's not that much to talk about, man. I'ma just be blunt with you guys like always. It's high school basketball. There's not too much to talk about because most of these top players don't really try out there on defense. On the defensive categories, I like to group it all in one, going with hustling, your aggressiveness, rebounding, and your stealing ability. I know I just said most high school players don't try on defense, but both of these guys do. DJ can guard the best player on any team and lock them up, and even if they get by him, he's so long and lanky he can pin their shot. The same goes for Bronny. I think he's a little bit slower on his feet than DJ, but if people get past him, he has chase down artists on Hall of Fame. He can pin people on the backboard just like his dad in the NBA, and I gotta say, it's a cool sight to see. For the rebounding aspect, it's not that big of a deal, and it's pretty close because they're not big time rebounders. When you're talking about hustling after the ball and going 100%, we gotta give it to Bronny though because he's always diving on the floor. And DJ tries and he's a good defender on defense, but I think Bronny just works a little harder because he's always down in that defensive position. Kind of similar to his dad, and I know I'm making a lot of comparisons to his dad, but he has a lot of the same tactics. He actually enjoys defense. Bronny really likes getting after his opponents and stealing the ball and blocking them. Overall, Bronny just really beats DJ on every main category on the defensive side of the ball. And for those reasons, this is why we gotta put the score at 2-2. When you hear this comparison, the first thing you think of is, oh, DJ's way better than Bronny, but when you really dissect it and look into it, it's way closer than you think. Our score wound up being 2-2, and they're very similar players. DJ's a better offensive player, and right now, Bronny's a better defensive player. We know that the measure of a great basketball player is always going to be the offensive side, so I guess you could say DJ's slightly better, but I got the score at 2-2. Bronny can definitely pick up the pace on offense, but he's going to have to work really hard and prove it. I'm really curious as to what you guys got to say in the comments. Do you think Bronny's better? Do you think DJ's better? Who's better at offense? Who's better at defense? Let me know, man. With all this being said, that's about going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. You typically like when we compare players. Let me know if I should do more. If y'all want to see another comparison, let's aim for 1,500 likes. I've never asked for that many. Let's see if we can do it. And as always, let's be great. I'm out, y'all. Peace.